Hello everyone, and I believe we are live right now. As I always kind of start out the week like this, to go along with it, and we do always leave it in there too. So welcome. Welcome to yet again, well, I won't say yet again, but welcome to another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast I run over here on youtube.com/UC Campbell. And sorry, I already had a cough really early on this week. So it was an interesting week in the wrestling, not in the terms of news side, because since it was a holiday weekend, there wasn't a lot of news talk. There was a little, as you might notice though, I'm wearing my the Elite shirt from the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. There was a little piece of news that went about there, at least a more rumor mill about the potential of their promotion that they may be starting up with Jericho and JR. There's more rumor going out about that. We'll talk about that here in a little bit to go along with it. But this week, in the terms of news, was not much of anything. It wasn't much of anything that was out there news-wise, whether it be in WWE or out of WWE. It's mostly due to the factor of it being the holiday week on that one. And it's always one of those things that it's just going to be interesting to see what what news comes out throughout the rest of the week and everything. Over here on this channel, we didn't really do much this week on our side. I do have a couple of different videos made that I will be uploading here very soon. One for Soul Calibur 6. I decided to play some online matches there and share them with you. Also, a continuation of my quest for Platinum on Rocket League as well, which is still not going very well, at least on my end. Maybe going well for other people on that one, but not going well on my end on that side. So that's also going to be going on the channel this week. And we're also going to continue on, and I'm going to try to think of what my next classic pay-per-view I'm going to review is. I think that is going to be something that does happen once a month from here on in. Not no 100% guarantees on that, though, to go along with it. And yeah, that's kind of what's going on with the channel over here, just to give a kind of quick update before we really got into everything. And the one piece of news I wanted to talk about before we got into Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and everything on that side, was talking a little bit about the potential new promotion, which I believe is being dubbed as All In, an all-in type of promotion, with potentially the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and the rest of the Elite, which would also include Hangman Page, Marty Scurll, and Cody, to go along with that, is that is potentially still happening. And there was even trademarks that were filed by who was the supposed benefactor for a potential wrestling promotion that was also with that was addressed towards the Jaguars stadium, which is actually one of the potential benefactors of that potential promotion that is rumored to be going around with JR and Chris Jericho at the head, while his son was going to kind of be, his son was kind of the head of the promotion, but creative was going to be headed by JR and Chris Jericho. Potentially the Elite were going to be a part of this as well. There's a lot going on with that, and there's still not full news about what's really going on that one. A lot more rumors than anything, I would say, that are happening at this point in time. And like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to come about of that one throughout the week. And there wasn't too much really to talk about outside of WWE. I know I'm not spending any time on it. I know I spent like not a magnitude, but like a very small amount of time on it during the Survivor Series review, because I didn't even notice that Enzo was in the crowd through that one. So I'm not really going to talk about that at all. There's not much to really speak on that one. And I did speak about it in the and that was at Survivor Series, and him getting kicked out of the arena during the AOP and the bar match, which, like I said, I didn't even notice. Apparently it was on camera too, which is kind of hilarious to really think about on that one. But I didn't notice it, didn't really mean anything to me, so I talked briefly about it there. I'm not going to talk about it over here. Though I did mention it, obviously, at this point, but more making mention that I'm just not going to talk about it. Don't really care on that one. And again, with the whole thing with this potential... these potential trademarks going out there, which also do include for a particular show name, and their acronyms as well, which I don't fully remember what they are off the top of my head at this time on that one, for that potential promotion, which does kind of reminisce to the All-In name that Cody and the Young Bucks used for their pay-per-view that they had earlier this year, or for their big show in Chicago. So that is kind of what they are potential. One thing that could be potentially happening, and maybe it does bring up the factor of, are the Elite going to go to WWE? Are they staying with New Japan? Are they going to do a thing where people are doing non-exclusive contracts with New Japan and Ring of Honor? What are they going to be doing? Are they going to be starting this new promotion to go along with that? It's still up in the air on that one, and you take everything with a grain of salt, and you almost, and especially with Jericho denying it as well via his social media side, you take that with a grain of salt, because he usually says one thing and, well, generally the opposite happens on that side of it. He's probably just trying to keep the kayfabe and everything to go along with that as well. So it's always hard to say what he is doing on that particular one. So with that being said, that was pretty much most of the news of this week. There was also one really weird piece of news that pertained to Vince as part of either the Alpha Entertainment or the XFL trademark, which Adidas is apparently challenging them on the trademarks for either Alpha Entertainment or for the XFL at that point in time, which might hamper the XFL as well from restarting in 2020 like they're trying to plan on doing. We haven't heard much of anything outside of Vince wants to restart the XFL in 2020. We don't have cities, we don't have what team names are going to be, what are they going to be doing with this to go along with it. It's one of those things that it was just an interesting piece of news, and maybe this does hamper them from doing anything further with it, at least for the time being, and maybe it does hamper them from starting it back up in 2020 like they're originally planning as well. That was another little quick tidbit that kind of went out there this week. That was an interesting one. Not much has come out afterwards, other than that Adidas is kind of challenging the Alpha Entertainment trademark, or they're challenging the XFL trademark at this point in time. So it'll be interesting to see where they go about with that one. So let's roll into Monday Night Raw this week, which, let's be 100% honest, was kind of lacking to a certain degree, but also potential of being very highly controversial to go along with it. There were some comments put into Monday Night Raw this week that were questionable, to say the least. Were they attempting to poke, I won't say fun, but take shots at people who have been questioning them with one of the comments? And one of the other ones is one of those that you don't, do we really want them to go there with it? Type of comments as well. Let's go ahead and start off with the let's go ahead and start off with the actual sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a brief second. Let's go ahead and start off with the beginning of Monday Night Raw, which was basically Stephanie McMahon addressing everything. Baron Corbin brings out Stephanie McMahon. She at the beginning of the show, Baron wants to become more permanent for basically how well they did at Survivor Series. And then, of course, it immediately gets interrupted by Braun Strowman, which makes for... and Strowman obviously wants what he wanted getting to him at that point in time, which was a Universal title match in his match with Baron Corbin. So this is what ended up happening. Last week, Stephanie agreed to, if they helped with the Survivor Series, Strowman helped with Survivor Series, he was going to get a shot at Brock Lesnar and a shot at Baron Corbin. This week, he wants those shots. Well, she gives him Baron Corbin. He gets to pick the stipulation as initially planned. It's like, okay, that's absolutely fine with that one. But then says, oh, by the way, to get your match with Brock, you actually have to beat Baron Corbin, which wasn't part of the... obviously not part of the original deal. So things got a little bit haywire with that one. And this isn't the controversial stuff. Where Baron Corbin also is like, well, you also promised maybe to make my job more permanent if, you know, if we did really good. It's like, you're right. Well, if you beat Braun Strowman at TLC, and which is now a TLC match, yeah, which is now a TLC match, by the way. And if you beat Baron Corbin, or if you beat Baron Corbin, but if you beat Braun Strowman, you become permanent Raw General Manager. If you lose, you're out. You're just out. Which is crazy to think on that one, because it's like, wait a minute, didn't they just do really good with Survivor Series? Why would you want him potentially out of power now? It was just a little bit weird with what they were going with storyline-wise. So... let's jump into the kind of controversial side of everything. And I don't know how much time I'll end up spending out on this one. Probably not too much in the end. But the controversial line on this one was when Strowman makes mention to him not being liable for what he was going to do to Baron Corbin. And then Stephanie makes a comment, her quote on this one, that I'm still working on that. Dismemberment is apparently a corporate liability on that one. And that can be taken in certain ways. Now, to credit on WWE on this one, they do use qualifying words like things like that all the time. They don't necessarily make full mention to a lot of different things. On there, they try to use bigger words for everything on that one. But with everything that went down with Crown Jewel and everything to go along with that, and the Khashoggi thing about dismemberment there, it was kind of taken a little bit, well, not a little bit, it was kind of taken, I won't say out of context, but it was taken as a not proper terminology that they probably should be using at this point in time. It was definitely one that I feel like they probably used the terminology as terminology that way and being oblivious to the actual situation. But honestly, it was kind of controversial for them to say it. And you can even take a look at it as WWE is like, this is what you think of us? Well, we're just going to stick it right to you. We're going to stick it right to you all the time, and here you go. And we're going to do something like that throughout the entire bit. It was not the best comment to really be making at a time, just weeks after, and like just a few, not even a few months. It hasn't even been 2 months since the incident happened. And they decided to go about making a comment like that. Like I said, I think some people are definitely reading into it a little bit more than what it should be. At that point in time, they were just probably using a line to try to intensify the situation that they had on that one. That also happens to coincide with a big situation that was out there in the world to go along with it on that side. But there's also that potential is like Vince wasn't happy about people commenting about the whole thing, and lo and behold, it's like, we're going to use this line just to stick it to all those people. There's also that possibility. I don't know necessarily. It's hard to actually say with that one. It's kind of how you end up feeling in the end. On that side, I go with an aspect of they chose terminology just to say certain terminology to intensify their situation, and in their storyline, and wasn't necessarily meant to go towards that, but the other way can definitely be seen to go along with it as well. It's a questionable line. I feel like they probably should have just used other terminology to go along with it on that one, but that was kind of the that was one of the controversial moments. The other one just makes you feel uncomfortable, which we'll talk about here in a bit. Because in certain senses, it was actually very good. It was a very good told story throughout the show, but it was one comment in there, again, that kind of steps over a line. Let's be fair. Let's be fair with it on that one. This led to a match with what was going to be initially a handicap match. It was just going to be Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley going up against Braun Strowman, but it ends up being a six-man elimination tag match, which ended up being Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, Elias, and Drew McIntyre versus going up against Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, and Baron Corbin, which basically ended in a no contest. And this pretty much took up the entire first hour of Raw. There was a lot to this. It was an extremely long match, which brought us to the end, and in a no contest side, where Elias and Finn Balor do get eliminated in the match itself after putting up a very good fight on both sides. And he ends out, and then of course the end comes where Braun Strowman's kind of fighting back, but Braun Strowman gets laid out with a chair by Drew McIntyre. They beat down Strowman to the point of to the point of being incapacitated. They put his arm on the steel steps, and then Baron Corbin uses the other steel steps to hit Braun Strowman's elbow or his arm to go along with it. And of course they are playing off the story, and this is actually they weren't necessarily playing off story, but they're playing off a real bit where apparently Strowman is going in for elbow surgery for removing bone spurs in his elbow on that one. So they were writing him off TV for a little while. They do announce it later in the episode that it was a shattered shoulder, which of course puts the TLC match in question now, and also puts into question the whole aspect of Strowman being at the Rumble to go along with it on that one. It'll be interesting to see where they go about this one. The time frame for him actually coming back is unknown. At this point, it could be just weeks, or it could be like a couple months or something like that. It's hard to say where it actually was with this one. I feel like they spent a little bit too much time just to get to this point. They probably could have spent less time and still gotten to the same area with what they were going for at that time. Up next, we had Nia Jax going up against Bayley, or not Bayley, but Nia Jax and Tamina going up against Bayley and Sasha Banks. Again, this was actually a fairly long and decent enough match. I thought this was a pretty good match in there. And they're still playing off of the aspect of Nia Jax being widely hated for the bit with Becky Lynch. So they're trying to turn a negative into a positive. I kind of like that aspect of it, and they are trying to keep her strong with this one in this one as well. She ends up picking up the victory in this match, which, like I said, was a decent, good back and forth match between both teams. But Nia Jax picks up the victory over when she pins Bayley after the Samoan drop. Again, I thought it was a decent enough match. You had the Lucha House Party going up against the Revival and what was apparently a Lucha House Rules match. Which means it became a handicap match. So the baby faces were on the side of the handicap on that one. So that was definitely interesting on that side. And again, it's like they had the Revival do so well in the 10-on-10 match, yet they just have them lose here on Raw. So it's like, oh, you get to do well here, but guess what? You're just going to go back to your normal losing ways on Monday Night Raw to go along with it on that one. It was definitely an interesting way of going. I know it was like a 2-on-3 handicap match, so it's not supposed to be that bad, but like, why are you putting the baby faces in what is usually a heel situation? It's kind of one of those things. Monday Night Raw was kind of all over the place on this one, and don't get me wrong, there was some good to go along with it, but there was just wasn't a very good Raw. I'm not gonna lie, and SmackDown wasn't much better either. Honestly, WWE television this week wasn't all that great, because also NXT was your traditional takeover, after takeover NXT as well, so not much to that one either, to go along with it. But like I said, Monday Night Raw had some good things to go about it. I did like the vast majority of the stuff that Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose did throughout the entire night. Dean Ambrose cuts a promo on Seth Rollins, who had come out to the ring. He continually calls out Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose never comes out. All that good stuff. So Dean Ambrose cuts another promo from backstage, telling Seth to find him. And he starts saying a lot of lines that is like, as members of the Shield, we did a lot of things, a lot of bad things, and we're going to have to start atoning for most of those. And that's where Dean Ambrose drops the line, is like, Roman's answering to the man upstairs. I'm not going to lie, I know the line's supposed to make you uncomfortable, and it's part of the story, and I'm sure Roman's okay with it, on that side of everything, that they're using using things like that for his sickness that work towards the storyline. It's just uncomfortable on the other senses of, is WWE tone deaf to how other people feel about the same situation, which I kind of think they are, because people who go through that in general, do they really want to continue hearing things like this, or want to continue going along with the storylines like that? Like I said, for me personally, I haven't had anybody that has gone through leukemia or anything like that, and I get Roman's okay with it. On that, probably okay with it on that side. There hasn't been anything say that he's not, to go along with it. And sorry, I have something in my throat today, so it's one of those days. But it's just one of those areas again, kind of like with what was said during Stephanie's line earlier in the night, that are they tone deaf to how other people feel about it? Is it an aspect of just they want to use this for the story to make people feel uncomfortable, or is it over pushing it at that point in time? I'm going to go with the aspect of, for the time being, much like earlier, I think they want people to, like, the whole aspect of their storyline is to make people feel uncomfortable. So going that direction is deemed okay. And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong on this one. It's not an aspect of kayfabe or real or anything to go along with that. We know it's a TV show, and it's an area of what story that they're trying to tell. It's just an aspect, should they really be going that far? Because they're also supposed to be trying to portray it as kind of real life, to go along with everything, on that side of everything. So do you really want to go that route? Or is everything just off on the table, and everything's free game as long as it's just based around story, to go along with it? And I feel it's hard to really say on that one. It's one of those, this is one of those times that, yeah, I could say a lot of different things on there, and where they want to go about it on that side, but I've never really been in that situation. It's hard to really say. I know there are probably a good chunk of wrestling fans that that have been through that situation, know what it's about, everything to go along with that, and those are the people that might, like, do we really want to see a storyline with this? And I would probably say no. I would probably say no there, and it's hard to I really feel like they could go a different route with this one and still have the same heat between Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. At this time, they have enough of a history that they could probably go other routes. And as soon as they can get themselves to distance from making comments towards all the Roman Reigns stuff, I feel it will become a lot better at that time to go along with it. And they did really good with a lot of the other stuff throughout the night as well. I liked what they did with Seth Rollins trying to find Dean Ambrose. I liked what they... I like the little bit they did with Charlie Caruso, where Seth Rollins is talking, and just in the background, all of a sudden Dean Ambrose, kind of like out of a horror movie, just shows up, kind of shrugs it off a little bit, and goes the other way. And then Titus O'Neil is like, it's like Dean was just like right here. It's like Seth was like, where did he go? And he goes the opposite direction, making it also look like Seth was leaving throughout the night as well, which actually brought Dean Ambrose to come out and talk to the people. The one weird bit was the whole "what's that smell" thing that they were doing. I don't know on that one. I don't know where they were really going with that one. That was a little bit kind of thrown in there to go along with it, so I'm not sure where they're exactly going with that one at all. There's obviously a lot of people's takes on that one. I feel they were playing off of the quote-unquote old history, or at least history of LA being a highly polluted city most of the time, everything to go along with that, to try to bring up more heat. Again, cheap heat on that one. Let's be fair. It was some cheap heat to go along with that. I don't think it was the whole aspect of the wildfires that are going over there or anything to go along with that. I think it's playing off of past history with the city to go along with it. On that one, again, another potential controversial thing that was going on Monday Night Raw this week. A lot of things were can be taken one way or the other on Raw. We'll leave it at that one throughout this week. And again, like I said, most of Raw, though there's some good, a lot of it wasn't. A lot of it was not very good this week on that one. And of course, when Dean Ambrose does come out and cuts his promo to the live crowd, he does get Seth Rollins does come back out. He did show up back into the arena, comes down to brawl with Dean Ambrose, but Dean Ambrose hits him with dirty deeds a couple times and leaves Seth Rollins in line. Overall, I thought those segments were pretty good to its own degree. Dean is definitely getting some heat behind him on that one, whether it be cheap heat or not. On that side of everything, it's definitely there. And I guess that's what they're going for on that one. I guess we have to really take it in context that, yes, they try to portray it as much as real life as possible, but it is just a TV. In the end of the day, it is a TV show. So I guess to certain aspects of the comments, it's like, how far do you go? And it looks like WWE is definitely trying to push the line with some of their comments at this point in time. Also, things that happened on Monday Night Raw. You had Drake Maverick backstage, and they continued off of what happened at Survivor Series with him, wetting himself, or basically wetting himself when Big Show was choking him. Of course, a bunch of urine jokes came out of it, everything on that one. It led to a match with Chad Gable and Bobby Roode going up against AOP, which Chad Gable and Bobby Roode ended up winning. Now they get a tag team title match this week. Wow. What they have done to the AOP. And you even had the crowd chanting in LA, AOPP. We've really gotten to that point. That's, yeah. that one's definitely there on that one. You also have Ruby Riott going up against Natalya. Natalya ended up picking up the victory in this match to via roll-up, so nothing really settled in this one. They're still playing off of everything that happened with Jem the Anvil Neidhart on that one. Again, kind of another very uncomfortable situation to really go with. And again, it depends on where they're really trying to go with everything on that one as well. You also had Ronda Rousey come out to want to make an open challenge throughout Raw, or not throughout, but on Raw. She wanted anybody to come face her. in the ring, which eventually Baron Corbin came out and said, no, you're not going to do that. You're still beaten up from last night. Ronda didn't care. Playing off the aspect of even on your worst day, you still have to be the best. And she wanted to come out there and prove it. And it's like, oh, and even gets to the point of getting in his face, which got the crowd more behind Ronda at that point in time, which I ended up actually liking on that one. To go along with that, and they do get the person to get the match with Ronda, which ended up being Mickie James. It was a short enough match. It was basically Mickie kind of controlling the beginning, and then Ronda does the Piper's Pit slam that she does a couple of times and locks in the armbar, picks up the victory. Not too terribly much to it. Kind of getting Ronda back out there to be looking a little bit more dominant, though she had to play up towards what had happened the night before. And again, that was basically what happened on Monday Night Raw this week. And like I said, it wasn't a very good Raw. In all fairness to that one, it was not a very good Raw. And SmackDown itself was kind of the same to a certain degree, and it was the main issue with Survivor Series, or not with Survivor Series, but with SmackDown, was actually Survivor Series, because there was a lot of rumor going out there that you know, Shane puts something out on social media is like changes are going to happen for SmackDown, everything like this. This was very disappointing, everything on that one. If you took a look at everything that they did on the show, I thought it was actually pretty good to its own degree, but there was nothing following up Survivor Series. And you could say that about both shows. It's like, how much did Survivor Series really mean to either show? On Raw, it's like all the stuff with Braun Strowman and Baron Corbin kind of got thrown around in different directions, and then lo and behold, it's like, this is what we're going to do now. Type of thing. On SmackDown, they barely addressed it at all in any way, shape, or form. Charlotte does come out and cuts a very good promo on Ronda Rousey and everything on that side, saying what she did. To go along with it, and it does bring out Paige, who ends up finding her $100,000 for attacking the referees in that particular match. It's like we're completely fine with you decimating Ronda. It was like, which kind of plays off on how WWE actually is. But no, you touch the officials, $100,000 fine, which is kind of crazy to really think about where they go with it. On that one, because a lot of people brought up the context of what Brock got fined in kayfabe versus what Charlotte got fined in kayfabe and their salaries to go along with it, because Brock got like X number of dollars but a year, and only had to pay a $500 fine for what he did to Shane and to a referee at SummerSlam of, was it 2016? I forget. I think it was 2016. But Charlotte gets which Brock's like pay was $12 million a year, while apparently Charlotte's is $500,000 a year, but gets fined $100,000 for what she had done at that time, to go along with it. So that they brought up things like that, or some other people brought up things like that in there, which again, I think people were kind of reading a little bit too much into what they're going with, that they were just going to throw arbitrary numbers out there anyways. I did like Charlotte's promo on Ronda, and it does make you believe that they are going to do something more with that. I even like the whole aspect of Charlotte kind of just saying, it's like, oh, so Ronda has to face Nia at TLC. What's the next pay-per-view after that? I'll face Ronda there. I like certain things like that. And she does get interrupted by the Iconics, which causes Charlotte to challenge either one of them to become part or to face her, which ended up being Billie Kay. Let's be fair with this one. The way that they portrayed Charlotte in this one was the way that they've been portraying Becky Lynch pretty much recently, to a certain degree. She did up the intensity in her promo and in her match as well. She does like her two matches that she had, both with Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, were good to a certain, or decent, but still short. It wasn't like the Iconics didn't get any offense in, but they do get destroyed in the end. Charlotte beats Billie Kay in pretty short order in her match, and then she kind of looks at Peyton and is like, Peyton, come in. Let's do this. Let's do this now. Then Peyton had her match after a commercial break where she had offense as well inside of the match. Looked like Charlotte was about to pick up the victory in her on her match with Peyton Royce. Billie Kay comes in and attacks her to cause a disqualification. Outside the ring, it looks like they're going to beat down Charlotte, but then they go for a chair and a stage chair. It's like, no, you can't use the... It's like, why did they do that? The ring crew side never stops people from grabbing chairs or anything to go along with that. This causes the Iconics to get double speared, and then you have that scenery where Charlotte basically slams their heads basically slams them into the announce table over and over again, starting off with Billie Kay, then singularly with Peyton Royce, and then both of them together to take them out and leave them lying. Up next, you had a Miz TV segment with Shane McMahon and The Miz, which this is where you're thinking, okay, Shane's going to start talking about what happened at Survivor Series, and he says, quote unquote, changes need to happen for SmackDown, which it ended up just being more of a normal segment where Shane McMahon kind of is like, he's still hobbling around. I love the bit with Miz doing the Shane shuffle, because Shane was not going to be doing it. And Miz kind of sucks up to Shane, going like, we should be a team. We should be a team. And I've even already cleared it with Paige that we'll be a team. We're going to go up against some opponents now. And lo and behold, they bring out what was called the Bryant Brothers. Funny, since they were in LA. Especially since they used Kobe Bryant's, the spelling of Kobe Bryant's last name to go along with it on that one. Fun play on that side. And they went up against Miz and Shane McMahon. This match was kind of short. Shane was not going to tag in. It's like I can't do anything. It's like, you got this. Don't worry about it. And I liked how Miz played it up. It's like, yeah, you're right. I do got this. And then rolls up, and then gets rolled up by one of the Bryant brothers, and they pick up the victory. I loved how Miz played it off as well. It's like, what just happened? And Shane's just like, so some good stuff there, but again, you're kind of expecting something different coming off of what they did at Survivor Series, especially on the main show. We have to qualify this. On the main show, yes, there was a sweep but if you count the pre-show, 6-1, which by the way, that's what Xavier Woods was doing all night with the New Day stuff. And they did have the New Day versus the Bar and Big Show, what was it, the Thanksgiving feast fight. I was actually kind of expecting it to be a no DQ match, which I guess it was to a certain degree, but there were proper tags and everything inside of this one. I think this one would have worked out better as a tornado tag. But beforehand, they did cut a promo. I loved how Xavier Woods was just like, right before Kofi and everybody got into there, it's like 6-1. And this is like one of the few times that they actually brought it up throughout the entire night as well. I thought this match, it was fun for what it was. You kind of always get some kind of silliness going into SmackDown, going into Thanksgiving, and this was kind of what this one was on that side. Like I said, it was fun for what it was. Big Show goes through a table of the food. Also, Cesaro does as well on that one. It ends with Big E, which he was doing the... Big E, just in the terms of doing weird things, it is up there. He was doing some stuff with the turkey, and it fit turkey or other portions of the food that were there to go along with it. And and then of course it ends with him putting the turkey on his fist to punch Sheamus in the face to get the pin. Like I said, fun for what it was. Fun for what it was on that one. It's supposed to be silly, and you kind of get that on those Thanksgiving shows. to go along with it. Up next, you also have Mandy Rose teaming up with Sonya Deville going up against Asuka and Naomi. Not much to really talk on this match. You're playing more on the dissension of Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Probably leading to the full breakup of their team at some point in time as well. On that one, Asuka and Naomi end up picking up the victory when, was it Sonya? No, it was Mandy Rose who ended up tapping out to the Asuka lock in that one. And yeah, it plays up a little bit more to the dissension of Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose storyline. Not much really other to talk about on this one. It was a decent enough match. You had a very good promo from Daniel Bryan, and kind of doing his new style of everything of being a heel. From last week going into Survivor Series, everything on that side, winning the WWE title. He talks about how, you know, his time in the hyperbolic, I almost always want to say hyperbolic time chamber because I am a fan of DBZ on that one. But this time in the hyperbolic chambers, saying it was pumping it full of oxygen, like pure oxygen and everything to help speed up the healing process for him to allow him to get back in the ring. And he comes back to the ring and he starts, it's like the yes chants were like huge, and of course they died down, everything on that one. But I loved what he did here. He brought back that whole aspect of fight for your dreams and your dreams will fight for you. And the aspects of the line is like, my dreams told me that I needed to go here. That I needed to go to this level, to change and be a new Daniel Bryan, to basically take the shortcut in the match against AJ Styles. To, you know, even saying that my dreams even said, is like, I don't have to beat Brock Lesnar to win, because Brock Lesnar was going to beat the weakness out of me in that match, which is kind of what they played off of on that one. I loved this promo. I thought it was really, really well done. And the end of the night ended up being Randy Orton going up against Rey Mysterio. And Randy Orton cut a promo where he was talking about Rey's mask, and it looks like Rey's going to be Randy Orton's next victim. As they had said before, it's like, no, I've come up with my next victim now after everything with Jeff Hardy to go along with it. And lo and behold, that's what they ended up doing in this match. I liked what they did here. They did a very good match and a very good story to go along with it on that side of everything. I thought it came off really well. Their interaction with each other in the match I thought was really good. Randy Orton picks up the victory after Rey does his where he was going to do a slide outside the ring to do a splash, but Randy Orton counters it into an RKO, throws him back into the ring, taunts him a little bit more. He even during the match was ripping at the mask and everything, and RKOs him, picks up the victory. So with that one being fully set at that time, you had let me just double check one thing here. Towards after the match, though, I had to just check on one thing on my side. Okay. Sorry, I had to check on one thing on my side of everything here. So everything on after the match came off really good as well, because Randy Orton, who's been playing this more sadistic style role, everything on that side, went ahead and it was like, no, I'm not done with Rey Mysterio. He grabs a chair from the ringside area, which, guess what? The refs don't stop him there on that particular one, which is, again, playing off of what they had done earlier with the Iconics to go along with it. At least they put the chair in a different spot where that ring crew guy could not potentially stop Randy Orton. So I guess you could play off of that. So they at least did something like that. And then he takes Rey Mysterio, and he did what like Undertaker used to do, where he puts his head in the chair and then throws him into the ring post. They did that one, and then Randy Orton takes Rey Mysterio's mask. So Rey Mysterio has been unmasked. by Randy Orton, and he's going to be keeping it as a souvenir. I like this. I thought this was good. The last portion of SmackDown I thought was actually quite good to go along with that. And again, like I said, it was very enjoyable. Those were very enjoyable. The one real downside to SmackDown this week was the whole aspect of them not really dealing with Survivor Series all that much to go along with it. It really was. That was the main downside to it. They didn't do anything with Survivor Series. It just felt like another episode of SmackDown. It's all good. Not really, but okay. You were kind of expecting one story element, and you kind of got a different story element to go along with it. So it was what it was. And Mixed Match Challenge this week as well. They finished up the regular season portion, and now they're doing the playoff side of everything. And again, we get more replacements as well. So somebody's obviously going to be replacing Braun Strowman because he is out of the Mixed Match Challenge because they are because he is actually going to be out with the elbow surgery for the bone spurs, which they wrote him off of TV with a shattered elbow on Raw. So somebody else is going to be teaming up with Ember Moon. On Raw side, you had Alicia Fox and Jinder Mahal going up against Bobby Roode and Natalya. This was a decent enough match with Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox picking up the victory. So Bobby Roode and Natalya are out of Mixed Match Challenge. As the fourth seed is going to be Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox. On the SmackDown side, you're going to have Jeff Hardy replacing apparently AJ Styles to team up with Charlotte Flair. So again, more replacements over there. On that side, for their match this week, ended out being the Carmella and R-Truth going up against Rusev and Lana, which they played up a pretty decent match where I liked how Lana, even though like she's done dancing segments throughout the entire Mixed Match Challenge, especially with Naomi or anything on that side, that she decided to interrupt the dance break. Her and Rusev decided to interrupt the dance break between Carmella, or with Carmella and R-Truth, and they were kind of playing the heels of the match. Carmella and R-Truth do go over with Carmella hitting the super kick on Lana, so they go on, and now they're out. So now they're going to go to the playoff side. Apparently Raw does their playoffs on this week, and then SmackDown does it the next week. Then the finals between Raw and SmackDown happen, and the two teams that win there go on to TLC to face each other, and the winners get the 30th spot in the Royal Rumble and a vacation to go along with that. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that one. I'm kind of expecting them to play a little bit of, I don't know where they're going to go with the whole who's teaming up with Ember Moon. They have not announced that one yet. But with the other match with Finn Balor and Bayley going up against Bobby Lashley and Mickie James, I kind of expect them to play the whole aspect of Mickie James and Bobby Lashley beat them the last time. So guess what? This time they're going to end up winning, because you see that a lot in the playoffs, actually. Take the NFL on that one. That's kind of a one-and-done playoff system on that one, where a team may have faced somebody earlier in the year, but when they get to the playoffs, where that one team had won, you think they have the advantage going in, but then the other team ends out actually figuring it out and picking up and winning the game there. I think they're going to probably play something like that with that one. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Ember Moon and who her new teammate will be as well. NXT this week, not much to really talk about. It was TakeOver, or it was the NXT After TakeOver show on that one. Not really too much to talk about in there. There was a lot of recaps from NXT TakeOver in there. You did have 3 matches and a potential storyline coming up here in the very near future, because I didn't fully make mention to it, but obviously Lars Sullivan has been is apparently getting called up to the main roster. He's either going to be on Raw or SmackDown, but they do a story element here on on NXT this week. The first match was Keith Lee going up against a local enhancement, which he ends up winning very easily. And then you also had Lars Sullivan going up against against local enhancement talent as well, where he wins the match and then he looks to continue everything, but Keith Lee ends out interrupting, which makes you lead to believe that maybe Keith Lee will be going up against Lars Sullivan, as Lars Sullivan is going out of NXT at that point in time on that one. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to play with on that side. The main event of the night was Candice LeRae going up against Nikki Cross, which I thought was a pretty good match on there to go along with it. Good back and forth, good moves from both sides. Candice kind of playing a little bit of a heel to go along with it. Obviously, Nikki Cross kind of does Nikki Cross on that one. But Candice being a little bit more heelish towards her style towards Nikki Cross on that one, what ends out costing her in the end. She does kick out of the spinning neck breaker that Nikki Cross calls the Purge, but then eventually gets set up for one off the second rope, which ends, or not off the second rope, but off of the top rope, where she was hanging off the top rope and gets hit with it, and Nikki Cross picks up the victory there. Overall, not much really to talk about NXT this side of everything. And this is actually going to be a shorter episode this week as well. To go along with it, not much to really talk about this week. And we try to get through everything as best as we possibly could on that side of everything. Overall, I thought Raw and SmackDown were rather weak this week, and so was NXT as well. But that is generally the case when they're doing Raws after, or NXT after TakeOver. On that one, not a very good week, I would say, on WWE programming side. Hopefully next week will end up being better. We try to keep mostly to the positives over here, and there was positives about this week, such as the Dean Ambrose stuff too. For the most part, I thought was pretty good on there. I thought that was some of the best stuff that they had done this week. The Daniel Bryan promo I thought was absolutely fantastic. I did like the Rey Mysterio and Randy Orton stuff as well. And to a certain degree, I guess it's just one of those aspects you kind of expected something different from the SmackDown show after Survivor Series. And you didn't really get, you kind of got a normal SmackDown to go along with it. Nothing really bad about it in the terms of it, the quality of its content. It was just as like, aren't they going to address the story from Survivor Series? I guess not. We're just going to TLC. I was like, okay. And that's kind of what you got from Raw as well. They don't address too much of Survivor Series. They say we're in a celebratory mood, but Stephanie's like making matches where it's like, I should be just making Braun, or not Braun, but Baron Corbin the main general manager of Raw. Nope, now you have to win a match to get it. Oh, you were supposed to get a match for helping us with Brock Lesnar, Braun. Now you have to win your match with Baron Corbin to get that. And so they kind of went just other directions with it, and it just came off a little bit weird on that side of everything. So it ended up not coming out that good in the end. Didn't fully make sense with where they were going with everything. So with that being said, that is everything I've got this week for GodSaw's Turnbuckle. This was a little bit of a weird episode. I kind of lost my train of thought there for a brief second in there. Also having a little bit of an issue with the throat side of everything today as well to go along with that. And we'll try to do better next week. I did not necessarily think this episode was all that great on that one. But we'll always continue to try to do better. And I hope you guys, for anyone tuning in live, I hope you guys enjoyed everything. For anybody tuning in later, again, I also hope you enjoyed this. We will see you guys next time for another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle. Take care, peace out, and have a great rest of your day.